guys, so right now as I'm filming this, it's actually only halfway through June. So this month I'm doing my wrap up in two parts. The first part I'm going to do right now, and then the second part, which I will jump to after this one, will be at the end of the month. So the reason I'm doing this is because I'm actually moving to a different town. So what that means is that obviously I had to finish all of the library books that I had out. So I've been trying to read pretty fast, and I have to return all of these books today before I move. So I thought I would film the first part of this wrap up now, just so that I still have the books to show you guys, because I like filming wrap ups better that way. And then I'll do the rest of the wrap up at the end of the month. So the next time I see you, I will be moved, which is kind of weird. So yeah, as you can see, a lot of my stuff is already packed up. The bookshelf is gone, like, yeah, it's all on. So the first book I read this month was This Is Where the World Ends by Amy Zhang. This is a YA contemporary novel about two characters who are friends, but it's a secret. And I'm not going to say too much more about this because I do have a full review of it up already. So if you want to know my thoughts on it, I'll link that in the information bar below. I really liked this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's really amazing. I totally recommend it. So you should definitely go watch that review if you're interested to hear more about this. The second book I read this month was Portiki by Patricia Grace. This is a New Zealand novel. I guess I would call it literary fiction. It's about a Māori community who is being affected by development. You know, a big company comes in and say that they want to put basically a resort in their little community, and they're against it, and it's kind of just their story about dealing with that. This was one that I have to read for uni, so another one that I was getting like a jump start on. I did like that it gave me a better understanding of Māori culture. I feel like I learned a lot from reading this, and the idea of it is an important one. What I didn't like about it was how it was told. It was told in so many points of view that it just made me feel really disconnected from the story. It's one of those books where you get a point of view from just about every character that gets mentioned. I didn't feel like I knew any of the characters very well because we didn't get to spend a lot of time with each of them. And I think maybe the reason that was done was because you're supposed to feel like an outsider, but I'm not sure if that was the intention or not. I like multiple points of view when there's like 2 or 3, and I thought that's how it was going to go, but then there kept just being additional POVs added throughout the story, and I didn't really like that. I'm looking forward to studying this through uni because I feel like I'll learn more about it, and I generally start to like books better once I analyze them closer. So I gave Portiki 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Kindred Spirits by Rainbow Rowell. Finally got my hands on this from the library. It's one that I've been wanting to read for ages, and it was a short story by Rainbow Rowell that was released for World Book Day, and that was in March, so I've been waiting a long time. It's basically just a shorter version of what Rainbow Rowell does best. It's all about a girl who's lining up for the latest Star Wars movie. So yeah, that's kind of all there is to it. I can't really say much because it's such a short story, but I really loved it, as expected, because I love anything that Rainbow Rowell writes, it seems. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I feel like if you're a Star Wars fan and you like Rainbow Rowell, it's like probably going to be the best. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was another highly anticipated one. It was The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. This is a very cute summer contemporary. I love the cover. It's the cutest thing ever. It's got dogs on it. So basically it's about a girl called Andy. Her father is a politician. Some kind of scandal happens. All of her summer plans fall apart, and she ends up becoming a dog walker. So I loved the dog walking aspect of this book. I thought that was really cute. I really like dogs, so that appealed to me instantly. It was adorable. There's a character in this book called Clark. I really liked him. Andy and her dad, the politician, I really like how their relationship grows throughout the book as well. It also had some really amazing, hilarious, funny moments. So there's this one bit where Andy's going on a date, and her date comes to her house to pick her up and ends up meeting her dad, which she didn't really want to happen, and that whole scene is just the funniest thing. It was so good. I also really liked that Morgan Matson uses settings that we're familiar with from her other novels and a few cameos from characters of hers, so I really liked that. I've never really seen that done either, and that's really original and really cool. There were things that I didn't really like about it. I thought that it was much too long. It is a very long book, and I think it could have been cut shorter quite easily. The pacing felt kind of off for me as well, and I also just felt like there was too much telling instead of showing, so like telling what a character was like instead of showing it through their actions kind of thing. That's something that bugs me. It's like a pet peeve. And I also just thought the story was quite predictable, and there's one like twist kind of that was just very predictable and was hinted at in a way that I already knew it was going to happen, and then it happens and everyone in the book is shocked, and I'm like, how did you guys not see that coming? Things I really loved about it, things that I didn't love about it, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I totally recommend reading it. It's really nice contemporary. The next book I read was Quiet Power by Susan Cain. This is a non-fiction book aimed at teens and children, and it's all about introverts. I really liked this book. I think it's great. I've got a full review of this up on my channel as well, so I'll link that one below too if you want to hear more about it, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was My Sister Rosa by Justine Laubelestier, and that's quite a hard name to pronounce, so I apologize if I got that wrong, but this is a YA novel that I don't really know how to describe the genre, but it's about a 17-year-old boy who lives with his parents and his sister are from Australia, but they moved to New York, and he thinks his little sister is a psychopath. She's 10 years old and he is constantly creeped out by things she does and trying to make sure she doesn't get into any trouble. The interesting thing about this book is that it was very slow paced, but then these shocking things would kind of happen out of nowhere. I kept getting sucked into it as like a contemporary story because there's like romance going on and family drama and all that kind of thing, and there were moments when I'd forget about Rosa and then something would happen and you're just like, that's right. So it wasn't like thrilling as such, but it was like shocking just because the twists sort of kept hitting me by surprise because I wasn't like expecting them at all. I kind of enjoyed that. Shay, the main character, was a very well-rounded, well-written character. I think he was a very, very accurate representation of a teenage boy. I really liked how things were just dealt with realistically in this book. The sex stuff in this book is dealt with really, really well. I've probably never seen a more like honest representation of sex in a YA novel. There was a lot of like genuine characters in here from a diverse range of like race, religion, sexuality, gender. It kind of covered all the bases in a really natural and genuine kind of way, so I really liked that. And it's also the first fiction book that I think I've read with a psychopath in it, so that was interesting, and especially from a YA perspective, and especially having a child psychopath, that's a really interesting concept, because I feel like normally you might have an adult psychopath who's like committed murder or something and they're looking back into their childhood, but I've never seen one just about a child, like the here and now. So yeah, that was interesting. I just think it was a bit slow paced for me, and for how long it is, like there's not a whole lot that goes on in the story, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The final book that I've read so far this month was Madness Made Me by Mary O'Hagan. This is a New Zealand book. Mary O'Hagan was someone that I saw speak at the Auckland Writers Festival, and I instantly wanted to read her book. I actually tried to buy it there, but it got sold out pretty quickly, so I ended up putting my name on the waiting list at the library. It's pretty much her autobiography about her experience with mental illness. She calls it madness. She talks about how she ended up becoming a mental health commissioner, which that in itself is really amazing, that she was someone who suffered from mental illness and ended up becoming a mental health commissioner in New Zealand, and she has been an advisor on mental health for the United Nations and other really impressive things. So she definitely has a lot of authority on the subject because she's experienced it herself, and also because she now works in the field. I really, really liked the structure of this book. It's done chronologically, which I really like in an autobiography. She talks a little bit about her childhood, which that, to be honest, did not interest me at all, and that was the very beginning of the book, so that was not a good start. But it was just because her childhood was so ordinary, there wasn't really anything that you could pinpoint and be like, that's why she ended up with mental illness. It went from there to her dealing with mental illness, to her overcoming it and, you know, using those experiences to become the mental health commissioner. And then at the end she talks about all of the problems with the mental health system and what we're not doing right. But not only does she do that, she also offers a solution of how she thinks we should tackle mental illness and how it should be dealt with. And she does that so effectively. I've never seen a point of view put across in a more effective way, which was really, really impressive. It's changed my entire perception of mental health and the mental health industry and the systems that we have and all that kind of thing. It's completely changed my point of view, and like I feel like my eyes have been opened kind of thing, which that's the first time that's happened for me with a non-fiction book. Normally I'm kind of like, yeah, that was kind of good, but this one kind of blew my mind, and it was just really well written. Mary is a really personable sort of character in her own book. She was insightful, which is something she like talks about a lot, which if you read it you'll get what I mean, but insightful, quite funny at times, and someone that I felt like I could relate to, even though I haven't gone through the same experiences that she has. I feel like she's a relatable kind of person and someone that you'd want to talk to. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. Seriously, I feel like it's something that everyone should read. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and if you read any of the books that I recommend, make it this one. Hello. So as you can see, I moved, I made it, everything's set up and unpacked finally. It's probably been about a week or maybe a little bit longer since I filmed the other part of my June wrap up, so just finishing it off right now. With all the craziness of moving and unpacking and starting a new job and stuff, I actually only read one more book this month, which was Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov. That is the same author who wrote Lolita, which I haven't read but I want to, but I actually really didn't enjoy this book. I had to read it for uni, so I'm glad that I got through it, but honestly if I didn't have to read it for uni I probably would have DNF'd it, which I don't do very often, so that's saying something. It was just very hard to get through because of the format. So basically the way this book is laid out is that it's a poem written by like a fictional author, he's a character in the book, and then a commentary by another character on the poem. So the book is the poem and then the commentary. Yeah, it's just a really irritating format for a book. It is very unique and I get what the author was trying to do with it, but I just really didn't enjoy it. And the narrator, who is the character that writes the commentary, he is completely crazy, therefore the story doesn't make a lot of sense, and because it's written as a commentary it's very like back and forth, flitting between different ideas and stuff, and there's kind of like 3 or 4 different storylines going on between his own history, the poet's history, their interactions with each other. He's also telling the story of like a king in another land in the commentary, and there's just too much going on. Books like that where they're quite hard to get through and there's a lot going on and stuff, I don't mind that if there's some kind of deeper meaning that I come away from the book with, but I kind of just felt like I didn't really gain anything from reading it, so I didn't really like it. It didn't feel worth trawling through for me. So yeah, glad that I finished it, but I didn't enjoy it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. As usual, because I read it for uni, maybe my opinion will change once I've worked on analysing it and stuff a bit more, but yeah, that is all of the books that I read in June. In my next video I will be in this setting again. The only other videos that you will see in my old setting are the ones for the biannual bibliothon, which is next week, because I pre-filmed those because I knew that I would be real busy with moving and stuff and I didn't want to move all my costumes and that. I pre-filmed those, so those will be in my old place, but everything else will be here from now on, and I'm kind of really liking how this is looking. Thank you guys for watching this one. If you want to keep up with what I'm reading throughout the month, I will link my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter down below, and I will see you in a couple of days with my July TBR.